Hello, everyone.
Hey guys.
Hi, Jeff. I was just telling Kelly that you were probably coming in from Massachusetts today. She's over there in New Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And the secret is, Jeff, I am a Massachusetts girl. I actually come from there.
Oh, really? Which part?
North of Boston. I come
North
from
of
the
Boston.
Methuen area. Yes.
Yeah, I'm closer to Providence, Rhode Island. So
That's great by Fall River is what you're telling me.
yes, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, I'm so happy to see everyone's faces today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. This is a great group. I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can stay on time. We have an amazing special guest today that I'm really excited that Dana will do an introduction a little bit later, but a couple Zoom rules for anybody who's new or needs a refresher. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. We recommend speaker view for presentation. Video sharing is optional, though we love to see all your smiling faces. I think it's a great way to connect with each of you virtually is to see your face. So please share your camera if you are able to, and if you're comfortable with it. And then also please type any questions or comments into the chat bar. We love to hear from you, and our guest speaker today is so generous in spending her time with us and said that she is so open to questions. So throughout the presentation, please feel free to type your questions or comments into the chat. I'll be moderating the chat throughout the whole Lunch and Learn, and we will also have a Q&A at the end where you will have an opportunity to unmute yourself if you'd like and ask a question to our special guest too. A quick update from Autism Tree. Since shelter in place last year in March when the pandemic first hit, this is a quick update of all that we've accomplished since then. We've reached over 575,000 people through our social media channels. We are now doing all of our social media channels, which is amazing. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. We've done it with our interns. So thanks to everyone who has been sharing and following us through this whole time. Our posts have been shared over 985 times. So thank you for sharing our content and connecting with us and just having a really open mind and connecting us with different people all over your friends and family all over the nation and sometimes the world. It's been really incredible to connect with people outside of San Diego County, where we're based out of. We've also have now 375 videos on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe today if you haven't. It takes 1 minute, super easy. We have posted 325 videos since March 12th of last year, which just blows my mind. So a great majority of those have all come from our volunteers, from our program managers. Thank you so much for everybody who stepped up to create content for our kids and families, give them ideas of what to do with their kids at home and help them, and also just stay connected that way. We have also a Reading with Autism Tree video series going on. We've posted over 106 videos and reached over 50,000 people just through that series. We've also provided 252 virtual events to date, which is incredible. We did 200 virtual events last year and have already reached 50 this year. We have 8 events coming up between now and the end of May. So stay tuned if you want to get involved. There's lots of things to volunteer for and lots of opportunities for communication for our kids and families online. We offer 19 of our 20 programs, 18 virtual and 1 in person, our Bridge to the Beach program, which I'm happy to say we will be doing this year. So stay tuned on that too. Now I'll hand it off to Dana Hoff, our co-founder and volunteer executive director, introducing our 49th Lunch and Learn guest speaker.
Hi, ATPF family. I'm so happy to have everyone here today together, and just to tell you how much it means to me that we have Kelly here on the East Coast. I have never met anyone like Kelly before. I feel like, Kelly, you broke the mold in my world. After 17 years I can't say I've met anyone like you, and I really, really mean that. Thank you to those of you who are commenting about the new office look behind me. I'm getting used to it. I have a new camera too, so sorry if it's I don't know what it looks like on your end, you guys. But what I want to say, Kelly, is you feel like a family member the 2 times that you and I have met, and it just, you can't, that's not something that you learn. That's something that is within you. Kelly carries a flame for not only her own family member, her own son is her guiding light that started her. And I feel that in you when the times that we've talked, it's so strong. And I was telling Kelly that, you know, there's a thread. If you were to watch each of the 49 lunch and learns, you feel that heart connection on almost every single one. That's the heartbeat. And I felt that with Kelly 100%. And it just means so much that we're all here together. I really could never say what it means to me to see a woman like Kelly running, being a vice president and helping families in a way that is so significant. And to have her share what she's created today is just extraordinarily special. With that, Kelly, I want to kick it off just saying how much I appreciate you. And we always start out with a question. So my question today for you, if you want to answer it, is what is the most precious blessing you have received in your work or career life?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to do this today and to see all of you here. It's fantastic. And I think you didn't stump me on the first question, so it's a good one. But I think the biggest blessing is really to be able to do what I'm extremely passionate about and work for a corporation that believes in the same thing. So having the ability to work with special needs families and being a special needs mom myself tied the two together. So I didn't have to quit my job, start a new career. I actually could take the career I had and reform it. So to me, that was a blessing, because when my son was born, I would have had to quit if they didn't feel the same way that I did. So I would say being able to work and do something that I truly love and I'm passionate about.
That's so, like I said, it's been really special connecting with Kelly, and I feel like I have this sense of, like, you all know when I was on the East Coast, I was making new connections, and I just feel like Kelly's the one person I would be my dream person to have gotten to know better. And Todd's on this call today. Hi, Todd. And I told her how much we love the Hard Rock in New Jersey, and she said that's a future plan, which we're going to take you up on, Kelly. The next thing we do is show a video, and I love this video, you guys. It's from MassMutual, and it kind of gives you a sense of what Kelly's, the types of families that Kelly's working with at MassMutual. And Kelly, this is such a fantastic video that you guys have done at MassMutual. It's 1 minute, you guys.
Everyone in the NICU, all the nurses wanted to watch him when he was there 118 days. Everything that you thought was important to you changes in light of having a child that needs you every moment. I wouldn't trade him for the world.
Who matters most to you says the most about you. At MassMutual, we're owned by our policy owners, and they matter most to us. If you're caring for a child with special needs, our innovative SpecialCare program offers strategies that can help.
That's one of my favorite videos, Kelly, that we've had on all of our lunch and learns. I just think it captures a mom's heart and what you're doing so well. We also pick a quote out. I picked this quote out for you because it just reminded me of who you are. Success is no accident. It's hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love what you are doing. And I would never have to ask Kelly her why. I know her why, just from our two times we've connected, and here they are. We actually met, which is extra special because of Cody. Hi, Cody. Cody's on this call. He is an alumni player from USD. I want to give a shout out to John Hickey also, who runs that program. He's ran it since, been from the beginning when we started that program in 2008. And it just really says everything about, honestly, Cody, where we're wanting to go, which is staying connected with our alumni. That is such a big part of our family tree. And there's no way to exaggerate the lifeline that so many football players have been, and the heartbeat that you have for the foundation to connect us to your new job. And Kelly, right away, you just graduated. It's sort of just everything. You know, Kelly, I really mean it. It's like Cody is an example of how we do what we do. And so it's just thrilling to me, actually, that I met you at MassMutual because of our football player, Cody, who our families love, and starting out his new career and taking us with him is just extraordinary. And so thank you, Cody. Thank you, Kelly. Just really feel blessed today in a deep way, knowing that the work that you're doing could benefit so many of the families that we're serving. So thank you for making time for us today, everybody. And thank you, Kelly. Here she is.
Yay, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here today. And I just want to say thank you, Cody. Thank you, Kyle, for the introduction. I mean, the one thing that we all learn in this community is we need each other. So when I came to MassMutual 5 years ago, I was from Metlife. I actually was with Metlife for 25 years, and I ran Metlife Center for Special Needs Planning, which is really an organization that helps educate families like mine that are caring for dependents with special needs. So I had the opportunity to work with advisors that chose to be in this field. Both companies had over 6,000 advisors, but there was just a small group of advisors, 400 to 500 advisors, that really wanted to work with special needs communities. So I had the opportunity as a special needs mom to work with these advisors every day. I won't say that I started out my career at Metlife as a special needs mom, because I did not. I actually have 4 children, and 19 years ago, I had a son that had a traumatic brain injury as a result of a birthing accident. So my son was only able to smile. He was very, very involved, and they told us initially he would not live past 1 year, past 2 years, and unfortunately, June of last year, we lost him. So we just lost him about 10 months ago. But he was able to live in my house with my other 3 children, my husband and I, and have a really great life. So what I got to do at Metlife, and I also do at MassMutual by running their special care program, is help families like mine so that they can take care of the person that they want to be in their home the rest of their life, or that they worry about at night. Because the one thing that I can tell you as a special needs mom, the one thing I always worried about was, what if something happens to me and my husband? What happens to our son? I didn't want to leave the responsibility with the other children. I really wanted to have a plan. And in all fairness to him, I wanted him to have a life as well. Even though he could only smile, that didn't mean he wanted to be with me forever. So, I mean, we always thought that a plan is really, really important. So I had the ability through my work to work with advisors that were passionate about the special needs arena. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a nice person and I let everybody come into this field that wanted to come in. I was very specific, and I think you can hear it from some of the advisors that work with me. We have over 400, close to 500. One of the first questions is, why do you want to work with special needs families? Don't care what the disability is, because we kind of all walk in those same shoes. But why do you want to do this? Because our population is unique. We've had people come at us for all kinds of things. We have high demands on our lives. We have a high divorce rate. We have a lot of things going on. Why, as an advisor, do you want to work with these families? What is it that you're looking for from these families? And so what I found is that 86% of the advisors that work with me, they are special needs parents and or caregivers like myself. They are philanthropic. They're like Cody, they're involved in nonprofits, and they really believe in this community. And those were the advisors that I wanted to work with. So when I say I work with advisors, what do? I'm not a salesperson. Dana knows, I told them a million times, I'm not selling you anything today. What I'm doing is telling you that our organization helps educate families, helps you plan for the person that you're caring for. Years ago, people with disabilities were not planned for. Many of them didn't outlive their families or their parents. Today, they're living much longer and they're independent and they advocate for themselves. So what are we doing as parents or caregivers? How are we setting them up? So that's really what my organization does. It educates families about the future, helping families plan for the future so that this person you're caring for really can advocate for themselves. So I've done a lot within the special needs community, not just with the insurance companies. I actually sit on the National Board of United Cerebral Palsy, which I started to work with about 6 months ago. For the last 8 years, I was on the National Board of the ARC, not because of my great job, but because I'm an advocate for people with disabilities, and it's all disabilities. We see the rates of autism increasing every day. We know the rate just in New Jersey alone, I believe, is like 1 in 36, which is absolutely crazy. I'd love to tell you that I don't have friends that have children or adult children on the spectrum, but I do. I mean, we're seeing it every day, but the one common thread is that we all think about the same things at night. And when it comes to planning or the future, it's something that we have to deal with. It's something that if there's an epidemic or that things are changing in the market or just the world is crazy like it is right now, we still have to have a plan. What we found during COVID with many of our families was that planning even became more essential than it was before. Many families thought, you know, I'm young, I'm going to live forever, so I don't have to make a plan. But we're suddenly seeing families that have to make a plan. And what does that mean? We always say that to people, like, what does a plan mean? A plan means having a conversation, including the person that you're caring for. Where do they want to live? What do they want to do in the future? Who should they be surrounded with? Who can help them? So we encourage families to have that conversation. Our advisors are specially trained. They're even trained on people first language so that they know what's appropriate or inappropriate to say to some of our families. They're really there to make the families have an easier run at it. So when we work with families, we want to have families create a team so that they can make a plan that's good for them. When people call me and say, Kelly, what should I do? My son is 32. I don't think he wants to live with me anymore. What do you suggest? I suggest that you sit down as a family and have that conversation, because what's good for me in New Jersey may not be good for you in California or Montana. It's really about the family dynamics, and it's having that conversation so that as a mom or a caregiver, you can sleep at night. That little brick on your shoulder comes off when you know that plan is in place. So we spend a lot of times with families, helping the families just really try to understand that this doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you really need to have that conversation. Many of our families come to us and say, Kelly, I have other children that are going to take over. I hate to tell you this, and I work with siblings every day. They don't really want to do it. My siblings, not my siblings, but my children, I have 3 other children that 2 are older. And even though Nicholas was total care, my other 2 children were often saying to me, we're going to take him. We're going to live with, he's going to live with us. But the problem is that wasn't really the lifestyle that I wanted for them. All the things that my husband and I do wasn't necessarily what I wanted for my other children. It came down to the point that I had to say to them, I don't know what your spouses want. So when you talk about taking in your brother or having your brother live with you, that doesn't mean that you're going to be with someone that feels the same way. And I don't ever want him to be a burden on anyone. So as a mom and a caregiver, and really in the work I'm in, making sure a plan in place was really what I needed to do. So it's having those tough conversations. It's having the family meeting when a sibling says, I love him, but I've had to deal with him my entire life, and we've had to do special things for him. I want to be part of his life in the future, but I don't want him to live with me. And it's listening to that and saying, okay, let's be realistic. So if you don't want him to live with you, what role do you want to play in his life? And what we find is that the siblings do want to play a role. They want to go visit them. They want to help them manage their money. They want to take them out once a week. They want to go on vacation with them. They just don't want to live with them day in and day out because it's not good for either one of them. So it's having those tough conversations when everybody's at the table, not waiting until something happens and then everything's drastic. And we all know as caregivers, the worst possible scenario for us is when something happens and change has to occur immediately. Even with my own son, even a little bit of change would definitely set everything, everything would go crazy if I made one change to anything. So we wanted to make sure that those changes were discussed before anything happened. When we speak about housing, we needed to speak about it when everybody was present. God forbid we put someone in a group home or put someone in a living that they didn't want to be in. It was really having that conversation, having a plan. So that's what we really do. I mean, we try to help families as best as we can. During COVID, all of our advisors are across the country. So they work with families in every state in the United States. So what we've been doing is we have webinars as well. We have webinars for our advisors to talk to them about this is what's on our families' minds, or this could help our families, especially now when things are really, really different for many families. And it's really trying to get out there and assist the nonprofits we work with. So I sit on a national board, but we work with some of the largest national nonprofits and even great small nonprofits across the country that are helping the families that we serve. So why is it important to us that we work with nonprofits? Well, it's important to us because you're the ones that serve the families we work with. When our families come to us and they need a sibling support group, or they need a parent support group, or they need a caregivers or an aging caregiver support group, the nonprofits are really the ones doing the work there. It's not us, but it's us having that resource to give to our families to say, hey, the siblings can go to something locally and that this support group can really help them. So it's working with nonprofits to help our families, but also can we help nonprofits? Can we help educate families about planning? Can we do something for maybe some small events that they're having? What can we do to give back? So I'm fortunate enough at MassMutual to really work with an organization that believes in nonprofits. But I often say it's like working for, you know, a grassroots organization, but in a corporate setting. So it's really the best of both worlds. But having lived in this world and having taken care of someone and knowing all the demands that come to a family, and when a nurse doesn't show up, or there's no respite, or there's no one to help, or the therapist doesn't work out, or there's 35 doctors that I'd never go to again. I mean, those are the things that our families are dealing with. So it's training our advisors that, you know what, these families need a plan. So people often say to me, you know, Kelly, not all families are ready to make a plan. Families don't feel like they have the money or the resources, and that's not always what it's about. What I often say to our advisors is no family should ever walk away from one of our advisors without something in hand. One of the things I talk to our families about is called a letter of intent. And a letter of intent, for those of you that don't know what it is really like a letter that you would leave to a babysitter on steroids. It's not for a baby, it could be for an adult. So in my job, I traveled a lot across the country and I was out of the house quite a bit. So if I didn't come home one night, it was a document that I had created that somebody could go to and pull out and say, this is the letter of instruction. This is really, you know, what our family could do if she didn't, and hopefully you can still see me. I see something, I see that rebooting on my computer. I'm getting a little nervous there. So I would say that the letter of intent is something that everybody could have. It's not legally binding, but it's really a letter with your wishes, your hopes, your dreams, and you can do it in a notepad. We have a format here at MassMutual that our advisors can give you, but it's really a letter of instruction. Even though I have a husband that lives with me, there were many things I did with my son that he had no clue. So if I wasn't here, there were things like don't ever brush his teeth with cold water because he only liked warm water. I actually produced a child, one of the 4, that didn't like chocolate. So don't ever give him chocolate. There were things like that in the letter of intent that were very specific to my son. And if he was able to speak, we would have put his wishes in there as well. What were our feelings on religion? What was our feeling on marriage? What was our feelings on housing? Who were the people that were great that surrounded him? Who were the people that were not so great that maybe shouldn't surround him? Who were the doctors that were our saviors? Who were the doctors that made me cringe that I wouldn't bring my dog to? We spoke about the ketogenic diet that he was on for several years. We spoke about specific therapies. We spoke about things that were unique to him. One of my girlfriends, her son, who is on the spectrum, has, great days and really bad days. She had a letter of intent and she called me and she said, Kelly, I left the letter of intent there. We had a caregiver come in and it went terribly wrong. I said, what happened? She said he was having a really bad day. And when he has a really bad day, there's a local pond that she brings him to. And she brings him down there and there's some ducks and some different things that he really enjoys. So she put in the letter of intent, bring him to the pond, let him sit, let him relax, let him take, his 15, his 20 minutes, whatever it is, to kind of regroup. And she said that the caregiver did that, but it didn't work out. And that he actually got much worse and that she didn't know what she did wrong. I said, well, let's talk about this. So when you go to the pond, what happens? She says, well, we turn right and we have to go 3 spaces in and park in a certain area. Then he has to walk to a certain bridge that he likes, and he has to have a certain type of bread that he feeds the ducks. And then once he does that, he's good to go. I said, so what does your letter of intent say? Your letter of intent says, take him to the pond, let him feed the ducks. The letter of intent should be very specific if that's going to help you. The letter of intent really should have said, take him to the pond, turn right, go 3 spaces in, let him have this type of bread and let him sit there. So she said, it's amazing because next time it happened, she did exactly what I said and it defused the whole situation. So a letter of intent for many of our families can just be that document that you keep with your vital documents. Doesn't cost anything. It's sitting there if somebody needs it, if you're not there or you don't come home one night. But really more so, it could be used in a court of law. It's not legally binding, but it is the wishes of the caregivers. And it does give the judge or someone something to look at that says, hey, this is what works. This is what doesn't work. It can be very specific to the individual. So no one should be out there saying, Kelly, there's nothing I can do. I don't have the means to plan. I can't go about planning. Put everything in a letter of intent or just put it in a notebook and update it as necessary that you want to put in there. Anything that changes, if medication changes, if things change with the status of the living or the people caring for them, you want to put it in there. One of the things that I put in and my advisors know, and I'm really the real deal when it comes to it, I had said in the beginning, I'm from Massachusetts, born and raised, my whole family is still there, but I live in New Jersey. My husband's from New York. So one of the things I had in my letter of intent, keeping in mind my son was nonverbal, so he wasn't able to speak, but I felt I was his voice and I could speak for him. So I would put, don't ever take him to a Yankee game, because I think he would be horrified if he could speak. So absolutely not. As a Red Sox fan, that would really destroy me and probably him. So that was in my letter of intent. But really, the letter of intent is a great guide. It's a great way to help our families. So those are some of the things that our advisors do. It's not just about sitting in front of a family and saying, you need this, you need that, you need this. It's really holistic planning. It's talking to them, not just about the person you're caring for, but the whole family unit. It affects everybody. It doesn't just affect the person with a disability and the parents. I know as a mom of 4, everything we did with Nicholas, we included the entire family because it did affect everybody, whether it was a trip we were trying to take, or if we were trying to take him to a therapist and it didn't work out. We really tried to keep the lines of communication open. And I can honestly say I was very blessed for 19 years. I got a big hole in my heart right now. But I know that what we do every day in the way we help families, especially at MassMutual, and the commitment we have to this community and this market, it makes a difference. Because when our families sit down with someone that really knows what they're doing, it can make that difference. I have people call me that say, Kelly, I sat with our family attorney and they're going to draft a trust for us. What I'd say to them is try to work with somebody that's an expert in this area. Our advisors are trained. The attorneys that we work with outside of MassMutual are trained. They're also special needs parents themselves. So really work with experts that know the field and know the industry and make sure that they can help your family, because putting a plan in place is no good up here if it's not on paper, because things do happen and disabilities happen at any given moment. So we want to make sure that we have that conversation with families, and that's what we try to do every day.
Incredible. Thank you so much for explaining all of that and the holistic approach. It's just so wonderful to see that, you know, there are experts out there and they're all across, you know, the country, that's available for our families as a resource. I would like you shared a PowerPoint with me. Would you like me to share that at this point now?
Sure, you can absolutely. I'll try to go through it with you. It's pretty simple. I think I covered a lot of it. You know, I'm a Jersey girl and I speak really quickly. So I will try to just go through it. This is our disclosure. This is not written or intended as tax or legal advice. MassMutual, its employees and representatives are not authorized to give tax or legal advice. Individuals are encouraged to seek advice from their own tax or legal counsel. Individuals involved in estate planning process should work with an estate planning team, including their own personal legal or tax counsel. So really, SpecialCare, it's been around for 18 years, as I had indicated. It was developed by MassMutual. It came from parents like myself. So it wasn't really a marketing effort. It was, as advisors, how do we do the right thing? When we sit down with families and we see that they have a dependent with special needs, how does the planning differ? So MassMutual said, you know what? We really need to make sure that we educate families and educate our advisors on how to work with these families, because we try to work with families to protect government benefits. So rather than saying, don't plan for the person, disinherit the person, we try to make them part of the plan, because that's really what we should be doing. So we give them the options to have the best of both worlds, to be able to protect those government benefits, but also make a plan for that person, because as we all think we're going to live forever, I can tell you that's not going to happen. So that's what we try to do. We try to offer the access and the information to families so that it's available to them. So some of the things that I get and some of the questions I get are, Kelly, what are the life care planning steps? And I mean, these are some of the steps: addressing the primary issues, create a life care plan vision. And that vision is different depending upon your family. Every family has a different vision. There is no cookie cutter approach to special needs planning. I've seen many, many plans that are very, very different, but that's okay, because it has to fit into your lifestyle and what's good for your family. We speak about guardianship, which, you know, guardianship is not something we're going to judge either way. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It can be partial guardianship. It can be full guardianship. It's really up to the family. Many families that I work with are opposed to guardianship. It's taking someone's rights away, and they don't really believe in it. The problem that we run into, especially from a financial perspective, is that it's not the person with the disability that creates the problem. It's others preying upon the person with the disability. So many of our families want to know what their options are regarding conservatorship or guardianship. And it's something that we discuss, but it's really something you need to go to an attorney with so that they can petition the court. But we do speak to families about it. Identify financial resources. Many families feel like, you know what, we don't have the means to create a plan or a special needs trust. Many special needs trusts, many ABLE accounts, many things that our families do are not even funded until someone else dies, or they put the information in a will to have a special needs trust set up upon death. So financial resources are different depending on each family, and it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. Once again, it really, you know, has to have families knowing what's out there. Leaving somebody with special needs that's qualifying for government benefits as a beneficiary could really ruin the plans. So you have to have something else to leave it to, a special needs trust, maybe have an ABLE account in play. So, I mean, there are many things that you can do to identify financial resources. Are you paying for services that could be paid for maybe by a government program or something that's available through a nonprofit? Those are the things we talk to families about. Prepare life care plan and the costs. Right now, many things are covered by the government, but as we know, everything changes every day. So many things on the Hill have changed. Are those supports and services going to be covered in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? If not, are there other resources that the family want to put towards paying for those specific things that they want for the individual? They don't have to, but it's having them look at costs. Many years ago, people with disabilities didn't go on to higher education. Now they go to college. What's the plan? What's the resource? So it's speaking about it. It's speaking about what the government pays, and what if the government doesn't pay? What's the plan? So those are some of the things we talk about. Prepare the letter of intent. You know, that's one of my favorites. There is no excuse for anyone not to prepare a letter of intent. It doesn't cost anything. If you reach out to us, we will give you the form as well, but it's something that you really should consider doing. And it's a great letter to have in your house. Give it to your attorney, put it with your vital documents, put it on your refrigerator, put it anywhere that someone that's stepping in for you could go to a reference. Prepare legal instruments, prepare your legal documents. I don't know how many out there don't think you have a will, but you do. And if you don't realize it, the state in which you live in has one for you. So many families with special needs dependents need to be aware of that. Our divorce rate is extremely high. So if you don't have any type of will, any type of legal document, if something happens to you, where does the person you're caring for go? If you didn't write anything, you didn't draft anything down, it could go to that person that was never in their life and that walked out when they were very, very small. So it's something that you need to consider. You need to talk to an attorney about it and make sure that you have something documented. Review the need for a special needs trust or an ABLE account. And yes, I'm going to say it. Special needs trusts are not for everyone. We have many people with disabilities that are working, holding regular jobs that may not qualify for government benefits. They don't always need a special needs trust. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you need a special needs trust. But if you want to qualify for government benefits, you have to, keep within the guidelines. So a special needs trust is really having the best of both worlds. You can put money away in a special needs trust, but you can also continue to qualify for government benefits. ABLE accounts are also great, very similar to a 529 that help families give that person some independence so that a 30-year-old man doesn't have to go to his mother for his rent or to go out and take a taxi or an Uber or do something. So ABLE accounts are fantastic. They provide many individuals with that independence that we were seeking for them for many, many years. So ABLE's a great tool. Is it a place to hold money and to put a lot of money in? Probably not, because there is a payback provision on an ABLE account versus a third-party special needs trust, which does not have a payback provision. So you want to be careful, but yet that's something else that our advisors can speak to you about. Hold the family meeting. Don't wait. I always say this. My kids would laugh when I'd say, tonight's the night. We're having that very special meeting, whether you like it or not. So we would definitely try to have that family meeting to talk about who was good at what. Some of us are really good at finances. Some of us are really good at spending. So that was the conversation we would have. So who's going to be in charge of the finances? When my son was young, I always thought about my sister, who also has 4 children, as being a primary caregiver if something happened to me and my husband. But when it came to finances, she had a spending problem like me. So there was no way I could leave her in charge of finances. But that's something that's tough that has to come out in a family meeting. And review your plan annually. Things happen. Look what happened in the last year. We want to make sure that you're speaking as a family and you're saying, you know what, this changed. Or maybe some of the caregivers are no longer there, or the plan you had in place has changed. Maybe someone's status has changed. They don't want to live in that housing anymore, or they want to do something different, or they want to change the state they're in. You need to review your plan annually. So those are just some of the comprehensive life plan tips that we give. I am certainly open to any questions you may have for me. I hope I didn't speak too quickly for anyone, but happy to share any questions you may have. I'm happy to answer any of them.
Thank you, Kelly. This is all recorded as well, so we will be posting this on our YouTube channel and sharing it if anybody wants to rewind and rewatch parts over. But this is such like valuable information, and there's so much that you covered, and thank you so much for your expertise. And we can all really feel your heart, you know, for our families in the special needs community and being an advocate for them for over almost 30 years, right? So it's just so incredible. And your story, thank you so much for sharing it with us. I'm going to go ahead and open it for the last few minutes to anybody who wants to ask any questions. You can raise your hand or unmute yourself as well. Jeff, I see you have your hand raised. You can go first.
Thank you. Kelly, one of the things I am very passionate about is trying to reach out to families, not just for what you mentioned, but also for, like, you know, education and employment. So if you ever want to collaborate sometime in the future on anything at all, I left my email on the chat wall as well. So.
And that would be great, Jeff. I will definitely take a look at that. I was talking so much, I didn't look at anything, but I will definitely take a look. And yes, I'm all about the employment. I've done a lot of efforts with the different organizations I've been with. I know when I served on the ARC's national board, it was a big deal as well, but certainly I'd be happy to speak about that. So I will definitely take your information and I'll share mine as well with you.
Thank you.
I love it.
And I hope you're a Red Sox fan, or that's not going to happen.
Well, I'm technically I'm a Patriots fan, but I'm also a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan as well. So.
All right, we'll give you a pass. Good enough, but I'll definitely share my information.
Yep, go Brady.
Thank you.
I love it. Does anyone else have any other questions? I have a comment from Glenn Lasker. He says, the information you provide is information all parents of special needs children need. Thank you, Kelly. I've spoken to my sister a lot about these issues. Glenn is joining us. He's one of our most dedicated volunteers, and his sister has, it's his nephew who has autism, who is, I think, 18, Glenn? Yeah, he's older teenager. So this is really valuable information.
I think he lives on the East Coast too. In is it Pittsburgh, Glenn?
I grew up in upstate New York, Buffalo, New York, and I'm going back there in a few weeks, as a matter of fact. So
Is that where your nephew is?
that's where my nephew is, and so I'm gonna visit him and spend a quality time with him, and visit the school he attends.
That's great, Glenn. And New York has great services. And I have to tell you, it's a tough conversation, but a plan has to be in place. I mean, I get a lot of calls from elderly parents that, you know, I had one 2 weeks ago that the woman was in her 70s. Her son was on the spectrum, and she showed up at a nursing home with her son. And they called us to see if there was anything we could do to help her, because her son was in his 40s and they just had never gotten around to making any type of plan. So it's just tough. It's tough on the family, and the conversation is difficult when we think about mortality or someone having to step in, because, you know, we think we're going to do everything, but it's a great conversation to have, just so that if something happens, at least you know where to go. And certainly if you need resources or information, we're in every state and we're happy to help you as well.
Thank you. That's one thing my sister's always said. She always works on a plan. The 4-year plan, she says she's always worked on throughout the entire 18 years that Tyler's been with us and stuff. So great information you provide. Thank you very much.
No worries. And you know what? My son was 19. I do this for a living. My husband's an attorney and my 2 older children, and my plan wasn't fully done either. So I'm not ashamed to say it. I had the big pile in the kitchen too. So it's something that you have to take little bites, but it does come into play, and we'll give her a peace of mind. So definitely let us know if we can help you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, if nobody has any further questions, I can go ahead and wrap it up. I definitely love to take a group picture before we all go. So let's do that first. And of course, we will have a recap email that will be going out to everybody who attended today with the links to the PowerPoint that Kelly provided, and a couple different resources for you to check out that Kelly has mentioned. So you can always refer to that as well. I'll take a quick screenshot. So everybody smile at the camera. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wonderful.
Thank you, everybody. It was so great to have you, Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It was my honor, really. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Cody, and thank you, everybody. I
Thank
really
you, Kelly,
appreciate
for
it.
the great information. Great
Thanks,
meeting
Kelly.
you.
Thank you.
Wonderful
presentation.
Bye, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great job, guys. Take care.
Bye, Alexandra.
Thanks,
Bye.
Kelly.
Take care. You're
Thank
welcome. Thank
you.
you.
Great
Bye,
job, Kelly.
Rebecca. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, bye. Have a good one.
Have a great week.